Hindsighters, welcome to another episode of In Depth with Ty Barnett. Joining me this evening, I have a phenomenal guest. She is the founder of Women to Women Coach. I am Adisa and the Coaching Pot. Of course, as usual, I am not going to tell you her name because you're going to learn more about her later on after the introduction, and then I will introduce this amazing queen. To start out, to let you know that she is a devoted wife, mother of five, and a passionate author. Born on November 19th, 1980, and grew up in Auburn Crest, Ohio. She made the decision to use her personal journey of self improvement and growth to encourage and support others. Embracing motherhood at a very young age, presenting unique challenges, including a personal battle with self acceptance, deeply influenced by societal views on skin color and hair texture. That's huge, right? These struggles not only taught her about the destructive nature of self hatred, but also opened her eyes to the widespread issues of mistrust rooted in personal insecurities. These life lessons have been instrumental in shaping who this queen is into the empathetic, authentic, and insightful being that she is today. Her journey through personal adversity ignited a deep rooted passion to uplift others. And that's what you guys are going to hear this evening, guiding her to calling as a business coach for coaches. Trained under the esteemed mentorship of Iyanla Vanzant, she obtained a license as a certified spiritual life coach from Envision. Her educational journey further includes an MS in human services and an MBA, equipping her with a diverse skill set to effectively mentor and support fellow coaches. That's huge, guys. Driven by her calling to be of service to the world and inspiration. Again, as I stated, she founded Women to Women Coach. I am Adisa again, and the Coaching Pot. She has embarked on a vision to create a liberated world where women are balanced in self-love as they secure in their divine feminine energy, while holding the power of their voice as a sacred by being introspective, self-nurturing, and authentic. She organizes events, delivers motivational speeches, and offers virtual coaching to individuals from all walks of life. And to that extent, her mission is to support not only people, but also coaches who are looking for ways to elevate their businesses and overcoming the different challenges that they have within their personal and professional fields. She serves as a light for professional business development because she recognizes that coaches in every industry are important and needed. She shares insightful knowledge on conquering challenges and cultivating an optimistic outlook that has the power to change lives as a business coach and spiritual life coach, embodying the idea that everything is achievable with rich mindset. Beyond her career paths and pursuits, she is committed to the growth of other coaches. She is a true leader who not only achieves success, but also uses her platform to uplift, guide, support, and inspire others. Dedicated to supporting fellow coaches toward achieving a harmonious balance in their professional and personal lives by sharing her skills, tools, and resources, she aims to empower them to not only excel in their coaching careers, but also to cultivate a deeper sense of self-worth and purpose. She is the queen, Shanelle Boyd, and that Shanelle is with an E. You can find her online at www.women, that's WOMEN, the number 2, woman, WOMAN.org. And she will share more information on how to contact her later on in. But at this moment, Hindsighters, please give a round of applause and an amazing abundance of joy and welcome to the amazing coach, future Dr. Shanelle Boyd. Welcome to the call.
Welcome. Oh my goodness. I was over here smiling and saying, I just want to snap my fingers and everything. Thank you for that. It was beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, when you snap your fingers, make sure you're snapping them for you because everything that I spoke is definitely you and who you are and who you embody.
Yes, thank you. I definitely appreciate you in this space that you've created. That was beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And so let's get started about your personal journey and your transformation. And can you just take us back to your earlier years, because we know that it's imperative to talk about it's not always how you started, but it's really how you finish. But if you don't know where you came from, it's hard to know where you're going. So, what was your childhood like, and how did those experiences shape who you are today?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And so, I've been doing a lot of inner child work, which has required me to reflect back on my childhood. And so I grew up with my mother, it was my brother and I. She was a single parent because my father was locked up in prison. He had been locked up my when I was born. And as I say now, my entire life, except I think he got out when I was around 8 years old. I don't remember it, but I do have a picture of that experience.
Mm,
So my mom, being that single mother, figuring life out on her own, she was raising us. We lived in Urban Crest, Ohio, it was outside of Grove City, which is like a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. And so I will say I don't well, let me go here. So as a child, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness.
mhm.
So I had a lot of experiences that I've seen shown up in my now season. But being a Jehovah's Witness, I was not allowed to do a lot of things.
Sure.
That created an experience to where I was bullied. Because a lot of girls thought I was better than them. In reality, I was trying to fit in, right? Which I did not, which, in my now, I'm like, Chanel, you were supposed to stand on your own, not outside of community, but it isn't meant for you to fit in. However, back when I was getting bullied for just being myself, people thought I was better than, or thought I was better than just because of the religious requirements that were held above me. And so that was something I really had to navigate through and learn through. And, it showed up in my adult years on getting clear on who I was and who I am in this right now season. And then going forward, I went to Grove City High School, which was I'm not sure what it is now, but a predominantly white high school. I would say probably 98% white. So definitely being the minority. And in that space, I was then challenged to be clear on who I was. And so I did not know that. So I experienced, of course, a lot of racial hate. A lot of it being pointed out around my nose, my skin color, and my hair. However, all of it did not come from, white people. A lot of it came from the boys that I found myself liking,
Mm,
me that I was too dark. So it made me have a complex about myself. And then, of course, my hair wasn't always kept well. And so I was talked about for that. So I had a stigma about my hair and how I showed up, and I definitely hid myself. So then as I'm getting older and I'm trying to fit in, and I'm like, okay, who's going to like me? Who's going to say yes to me? I found myself saying, hey, can somebody pick me?
mm. Wow.
Because I was trying to get like the boys to like me. I was 14 years old. I was like, can you like me? Can you like me? And, I had that own self-hate for myself just because of what I was experiencing from society and, people who were surrounding me. Um, it wasn't welcoming. And then, of course, I projected that onto me. I integrated into my being. So when I was looking in the mirror, I did not care for who I saw. I remember looking back on a yearbook and I had scratched out my picture in the yearbook. And so there were so many things that were happening. But in that state of, wanting to be accepted, is when I lost my virginity at 14
Mm,
because I literally said I was hanging around young girls who were active,
right.
um, and I was not active. However, I saw that they got a lot of attention. So the attention that I had been yearning for, I feel that some of the lessons I didn't, receive because my dad wasn't present. I was like, okay, how do I get this same attention from a boy? And so I literally put it out there like, I want to lose my virginity on my birthday.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
I think about it all the time. However, it turned into a blessing. But so, had that experience and then later, had that experience, had sex a couple of additional times, and then here comes my daughter being pregnant at 16. And when I tell you, everybody talked about me, everybody dogged me, everybody told me I was going to be nothing and my daughter was going to be nothing.
Mm.
Um, it was it was how did I feel? I'm trying to think if I know back then I felt embarrassed. Because I remember I used to walk around with my head down.
Mm.
And then through the process of me being pregnant, my mom was struggling. So we had to stay in a shelter because, she had to leave her home because it was something that she couldn't afford anymore. So as I'm pregnant, big and pregnant, we're staying in a shelter. I'm sleeping on a cot. However, the people there were so nice, so nice. I feel like that was the first experience of um, I'll just say people who weren't Black that were being nice to me.
Sure.
It felt uncomfortable. I was like, what's their hidden agenda? But it was a great experience because they supported me and gave me things for my daughter, and then that process led us to getting a place. And then so after that, I was trying to, I thought I was grown. My mom continued to tell me I was not grown. However, I'm like, I have a whole baby.
Uh,
I'm grown. And so then tried to navigate life through there and, learned a lot about how to show up in the world when you want to get attention. Because I definitely was trying to protect myself and my daughter now against the words that were being spoken of us. And so I didn't know how to respond outside of emotions. So my emotions also controlled me a lot when I was young. And you would get a lot of responses from me from an emotional point of view and being driven, in a space and place that wasn't supportive. Well, it was supportive because it's allowed me to be who I am now. Um, but yeah, I was definitely driven by a lot of emotions and fought a lot of fights. It was
wow.
ridiculous. I'm laughing at it now because you cannot pay me to even argue with anybody.
I know that's right.
So I'm glad I got it out my system, but definitely, like I said, responding with my emotions because I was so young, I had to take on the responsibilities of raising my babies because I then had my son at 19.
Mhm.
So it was now, it was a beautiful journey of life and it has prepared me for who I've been called to be. Back then, I was like, what did I do?
Mm. Wow. So from the pick me girl to the having your unexpected blessings with your beautiful children who I'm sure are thriving today. You've
Yeah.
spoken about your relationship with your mother and how your perception of her changed over time. How
Right.
has that shifted impact and your personal understanding of femininity?
Yeah, oh my goodness, yes. So let me start by saying I used to think my mom was so mean, so
Mm,
mean. I did not understand why there were rules for me to follow, especially when I hung around a lot of people or snuck and hung around a lot of people who
right.
didn't have the same rules. And then I also had resentment for my mom raising me as a Jehovah's Witness because I didn't get to celebrate me. So I didn't get to celebrate birthdays, Christmases, and that's no judgment for who
Sure.
decides that. But me as a child, I did not understand that. So I definitely had a lot of resentment towards her and felt that she just was, being mean. However, growing into an adult and a mother now and just experiencing my mom, I'm like, number one, my mom is a beautiful reflection of God. I could not have asked for a better mother, and I'm thankful that I chose her.
Love that.
And just to see how she operated in this world has supported me with seeing who I am or a part of me. So my mom, she was always, I'm going to say she was always present. And what I mean by that is my mom definitely was always working because she was supporting us on our own. However, after that, my mom came home, right? So my mom was always in the house, and my mom, I didn't see her with any friends. So that's a whole nother conversation that I had to learn on my own. But she came home, she would read her books, she would make sure that we had things. So even though we didn't get to celebrate Christmas or birthdays, it was not like we were without. But the society that I lived in made me, I thought that I was lacking. But just the way she moved, like my mom always, just no matter what showed up. Like I said, I remember her car getting repoed. I remember us moving in with my grandma. I remember us staying at a shelter. My mom never gave up. And let me add, I've never heard my mom cuss. I've never heard her do any of that. And I know it had to be stressful. I know it had to be stressful. My mom never once spoke bad about my dad, not once. And I remember I tried to say something about him, and she was like, Nellie, that's your father. Like she corrected me.
Mm,
And that to me was
okay.
so powerful, so powerful. And just the way, like, because I used to get bullied for wearing dresses, I used to think that dresses were not how I was supposed to show up. However, my mom taught me about putting on your stockings, and putting on your slips and standing up tall and being graceful when you're walking and still having that essence of nurturing, being able to nurture in a space, even when it's uncomfortable.
Mm,
So who I thought I grew up with and who I have grown to experience as a woman are two different experiences. And I just honor her and I'm so thankful for her because now I've been given the opportunity to parent my children, take things from that. So what she created me with, I use that as my foundation. And then I built my own ceiling, which is going to be my children's foundation, and they'll build their own ceiling. So how protective I have always been over my children came from my mother. She was so protective, making sure that nothing happened to us, and she stayed in prayer. And that's, I show up the same way for my children, even, they don't know anything. I'm in prayer for our children heavily. She definitely was different because I don't remember my mom yelling at me. I definitely got whoopings. Definitely got them butt whoopings. However, I don't remember her yelling at me. I did yell at my kids. I want to say until probably around 12, and then I was at a sermon and it was like, oh my goodness. But I don't remember my mom yelling at me, talking down to me. So she supported me in ways that I did not know that I needed for myself as the world was going to be doing those things. And then in a way to also honor my children and everybody, every child that's in my life, knowing how to speak and nurture and show them how powerful femininity is. And it's not about, how you talk, what you wear. It's all about the inner way of nurturing and, just creating a safe space for people to feel comfortable to be.
absolutely. So we definitely give snaps and high fives and love and prayers and to your mother, who
Thank
is your strength, because that's everything. We as children really understand why our parents do what they do until we grow up and
you.
we become parents ourselves to understand, oh, I get why
Yeah.
he or she moved the way that they moved. And that's huge. And then you look back, you may not necessarily say, Mom, I'm sorry, but you definitely can say, I understand why you did the things you did or why you didn't do the things that you did
Yeah.
now that I am old enough or wise enough or a parent myself to understand those things. So that's huge that you were able to recognize that and take some of those nuggets that may have been uncomfortable to you at the time that you found as jewels as you became a parental yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you once believed that the strength meant showing up like your mother or your brother. How did that belief evolve? And what did it take for you to redefine the strength for yourself?
Yeah. So that's a good question too. So, in one of my books, I wrote about how I viewed strength as being masculine because my brother was a pillar in my life.
Mm,
As again, I didn't have my father. So he somewhat showed up as that role, showed up in the role as my father. So, for him, it was walking around with those broad shoulders and fussing people out if they got in my way, or, he was just always present. Like he was somebody you could see. And he used his voice to be seen. So I was like, okay, that is what, to me, strength looks like, how I'm supposed to show up in the world. And like I said, I did carry that out in my young teenage, mid, young adult years, thinking that, my brother was a reflection of what strength looked like,
mm,
and not taking that away from him because he still is a pillar of strength. However, I have learned through my teachings, my lessons, how powerful standing in the essence of being divine, feminine is strength. It has, being a woman, we have the power to stop and start wars.
mm,
I feel that if we take a look, well, just in general, if we take a look in the, animal kingdom back at wars, a lot of them have to do with protecting.
yes.
And when I think about femininity, we literally control the emotions of homes, of families, of
Oh,
the world.
yes.
And so our power and strength lies there, just being clear on who we are and showing up in the world as who we've been called to be. And of course, that's a whole process of getting clear on your life's vision and who you are and who you've been called to be. But it's powerful because it then creates and shapes generations, current generations, it heals past generations and the new generations to come. So I now see strength as, my hands are creating a silhouette.
Mm,
Just, but the natural essence of a woman and a woman being able to control her emotions. Because again, I feel that women are the foundation in the homes for the way the emotions are. We are the energy within our homes. If a home is uneasy, I feel that we have the power to keep it there or shape it because our emotions are so powerful, just our way of being and how we show up in the world. And so strength to me just looks like standing in your presence, being authentically you, using your voice to honor, not only honor you, but speak life into those who are connected to you and those who are not even connected to you, but will receive part of a seed that you've sown. So knowing that, strength doesn't have to come from, I have to voice my opinion all the time, or I have to say what's on my mind all the time.
mm,
When strength comes in, okay, let me sit and pray. Let me use my voice and my strength and who I've been called to be as a woman, as a mother of this earth, and just ask for the guidance, ask for the protection for not only myself, but everyone connected to me. And stand when the world looks like it's going to fall, to me, that's strength.
indeed. I love that. So, was there a pivotal moment when you realized that you yourself was out of alignment with your true self? And if so, how did you begin your journey towards healing, which is so huge?
Yes. Well, honey, let me tell you, I didn't even how old am I? 44. How old was I in 21? Listen, I say this
45.
self-development phase of life that I'm in, I'll be forgetting everything. But I did not even get clear on who I was until I started going through intervisions. However,
Mm,
there was a trickle. So I had got married to everything makes sense. So, being with my kid's father for most of my life, 14 to how old was I? 29 or something like that. Eventually deciding, okay, Shanelle, you have to walk away. Like you have lost yourself. And so then I step into a marriage to a person that I really didn't even know, but I had told myself I deserve to be married. So it was like, again, showing up how back when I was young and it was like, pick me. I was
Mm-hmm.
I was in that same energy. Like I just need somebody to pick me to validate me. So going through that process, it ended. And that's when I started saying, okay, Shanelle, you are the main factor in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start looking at you. So I started working with, I was at work one day and I was hurt and angry. And this lady, her name is Donna, she was like, you should come to one of our meetings. And so I came and then I started working with a well, she was a life coach. I started working with her, and then I started watching Fix My Life. So I was like, okay, doing a lot of reflecting. Still was I had so many walls up, but it started then. And so, I was showing up with my life coach doing things like, she's like, well, let's do this and let's do this. And I'm like, okay, because I'm good at checking boxes off. Like, don't ask me to do anything that you don't want done because I'm gonna do it.
Love
Um,
that.
so I'm very good at doing things. So I still was in the process of who is this woman? So I was praying. I was like, I need something more. And as I was watching Fix My Life and everything was landing, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be sitting on a chair next to her. You know what? I'm going to be just like her. So as I was growing through my life coaching experiences, I then opened my nonprofit. And as we're growing through that, she was like, you really need to be a life coach. And that's because people were coming to me and I was supporting them. And I was like, no, I don't. I was so resistant. But then eventually I was like, okay, Shanelle. And I definitely wasn't heavy into prayer
Sure.
because I had my own goodness. I had my own feeling about God. That's a whole other story too. So I definitely wasn't heavy into prayer to where I prayed about, should I be doing this or should I not be doing this? So I don't know how I got an email, but I got an email stating that there was an opportunity to attend Mama Ia's school, which is Intervisions, to become a spiritual life coach. And there were a lot of requirements. And, one of them had to be you were already in the field of supporting people. So I was already a life coach. I'm like, okay, am I going to do this? Nope. Because I was afraid. And then one night I was asleep and I had this clear dream, me sitting in the mirror looking at myself. However, I was asleep looking at myself do this. And so I'm like, okay, Chanel. So the next day, which was the deadline, I filled out the application and got accepted. And this is where the healing started. The
Okay.
healing and the awareness. I know I took a long time to get there, but
No,
honey,
that's fine.
that's
That's fine.
the story. So going through that process, it is understood and taught that you are your first client. So I thought I was just going to go in there and get this, the skills on how to be her. Like I get to learn how to be Miss Iyanla Vanzant. No, ma'am. That was not the case. I signed up to do the work on myself. And I tell everybody, it was the hardest experience I've ever had. Ever. Having children ain't got nothing on it. Training Day, Denzel, mm,
Yes.
that's the voice I'm using. Like it was the hardest experience I've ever grown through and the most rewarding.
Mm, mm.
My God, the most rewarding. So through this process, I was required to sit and learn who I was. And so we did a lot of inner child work, which opened up a lot of wounds, which then, warranted me with the opportunity to say, okay, this is really my root. This is what I'm sitting with. This is what I need to heal through. So going through that process, acknowledging the dislike that I had for myself,
Mm.
acknowledging the dislike that I had for my mother, acknowledging the disappointment that I had in God, acknowledging the disappointment that I had in people who align themselves with God, the disappointment that I had for for the women who showed up in my life. There were so many things that were coming up for me. And at the end of the day, it was, how did I invite this into my space? And what is it that I need to learn about me from this experience? I said, now, daggone it. Why can't I blame this on everybody else?
Accountability, accountability.
Yeah. But it's so much easier to say, you know what, this person did this person did this. No, it's like, okay, all of my life's experiences have already been divinely created, and I invited them into my space. So, what is it that I needed to know and learn about me? So, through that 2 year long process, if it wasn't 2 years, it was a little short. But through that long process, I had to do the self work because Mama Ia will tell you she's not signing your certificate. She's not going to sign that you can go out here and be a spiritual life coach to support others and we can't support ourselves.
Mm,
So through that process, I had to create a living vision. My vision, what I solely operate by, my ways of being in my vision, have supported me with, okay, Shanelle, this is your life. This is who you've been called to be. This is your why. And this is how you're going to honor who you've been called to be in this world without any judgment of your journey. And it supported me with seeing why I am who I am, why I had my babies at 17 and 19.
mm,
I cannot imagine what my life would be like if I did not have them. Whew. Mm. And everything else. So that was actually when it started. So I was in my 40s
wow. Wow.
when the process began, and it's never ending. So even as I support, her now with the incoming students that come in,
Hmm.
I'm still always learning something about me that then gives me the space and the honor to show up in the world and support women with learning about them and who they are and standing in their truth, in their ways of being.
Mm, that's huge. And let's keep this train going about spirituality and divine feminine energy. How do you define the divine feminine energy? And why do you specifically believe that it is so important in today's world?
Yeah. So when I think about divine feminine energy, again, I think about the gentleness of nurturing.
Mm,
It is so powerful. And in that nurturing essence and energy, you have the ability to calm, to create, to build. So the main thing that I always state or suggest to women that I'm supporting when we're talking about divine feminine energy is, how do you show up in the world as you? And then how do you allow yourself to nurture yourself and those connected? Understanding that femininity will have you moving in a way to where you're so loud and you're saying nothing, nothing, because the light covers you. It gives you permission to be grounded and rooted in who you've been called to be. So I got lost. What's the, because I can
yeah,
go, I'm
that's
telling you.
okay. And you can. So we were on the road, you were on the track of knowing, you defining what femininity energy is, and you've defined that. But then the ask was, why do you believe it's so important in today's world?
Oh yeah.
That's
because
okay.
because I was over here moving and flowing because I
Listen.
was think about femininity and how powerful and nurturing and loving and how it can save the world. It consumes me. But I believe it's so important to restore families.
Mm,
So one of the because I came from a broken family, I understand the importance of family and the path and the everything that it creates for generations to come. And with family, there's less division. And with less division, people can't get in and just create the chaos, the wars, and whatever it
Mhm.
is that happens now. So, what I know is that femininity can nurture, it can heal, it can empower, it can change anything. And again, that's who we've been divinely created to be. Like we are women and have been born as women to show up in the world in the form of femininity and to nurture and to, because how I look at it, or how I've experienced it. In a lot of instances, when babies are crying, or let's say a toddler is crying, they go to their mom to be nurtured, right? To, oh, come here, baby, let me clean you up, and then have the snot still going, and and this is maybe in some instances, and it's okay, you can do it, you better get back up, but giving them the time to sit with their feelings, but get back up and keep going.
Absolutely.
And then what I've seen with fathers, it's like, it's okay, let's go, let's go. You know what I mean? And that's their
Hmm.
role as the masculine. But when you combine those two, it's a beautiful balance.
Oh, yes.
So in femininity, it's like, okay, I'm honoring myself and honoring the person who's coming to me, knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable. Vulnerable is powerful.
Mm.
You connect on so many stages when you look at vulnerability. You honor yourself when you're vulnerable because then you speak what might be considered as, I'll say it, it might be considered as a weakness, but you're able to hear it. And then that nurturing essence comes in, it shapes it like you're making bread or something and creates it into something else. So I believe that divine feminine energy is needed in this world for healing and to create and bring back families, which then create stronger communities, stronger generations, breaking generational experiences from the past. It's so many things. And the relationships are so much better. It's so much better when there's balance. So when women are clear that we don't have to argue for our space,
Mm.
mm,
Mm.
mm, mm,
Mm. Mm.
that peace, my goodness,
Yes.
that even no matter what's going on in this world right now,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
it's still guiding. It's a guiding light.
I love that. And I love the fact. So, speaking of guiding light, this question is not one of religion. It's still on a spiritual path because we do know that faith without work is dead.
Yeah.
What role has faith played in your transformation and how does it continue to guide your journey?
Yeah. So, as I stated earlier, being raised as a Jehovah's Witness and all the restrictions, I had a resentment, right? And so, what I have learned is that I don't have to do things the way other people do.
Mm-hmm.
My faith has given me that permission. I was able to learn and experience God for myself. And the most beautiful experience of my faith is knowing that there's no separation between God and I. Mm, mm, mm.
Mm.
That has supported me because, what I used to believe was that God was only present, and this was just me being young and what I heard.
Sure.
God was only present in the sky. Only 144,000 would get to go sit next to God, yada, yada, yada. I was being judged from a throne, and all of the things. So, I just believe like, well, I'm doing all this wrong stuff. So it is what it is. I'm not one of the chosen ones. However, you know, re and I don't want to say recommitting, but saying yes to
Mm.
God, hearing God, listening has supported me with saying and knowing that I've been called to be who I am in this space. And my faith, which then gives me um my spiritual practices that support with grounding me, my faith was seeing God in everybody. Oh, it's
Mm.
so life-changing because, again, I used to think God was only in the sky. There was no, I didn't know God was everywhere, even the trees, even, in you and me, a representation.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking in the past that, in order to receive acceptance, I had to be one of those 144,000 that they teach you in the Kingdom Hall. And again, this is my experience of the
Sure,
kingdom, nobody else's.
absolutely.
And so, I was like, well, I don't need that. But then coming back to oneness, being in prayer, it leads me with everything. There's the thunder. Um, it leads me with everything. I'm clear I don't do anything without asking first.
Mm,
So my faith is what leads me, what guides me, what gives me my yes, which gives me my reason to breathe, which allowed me to be here today. As I was saying, I literally had to get a surgery done on Saturday morning. So knowing that there is a higher power protecting me and all of my loved ones gives me the yes to just keep going. And when things get heavy, and then I'm looking in the word, like, okay, because Proverbs is my favorite chapter.
Oh, yes, there's so much greatness there.
Listen. I'm gonna say,
Listen,
listen, Linda. Uh, that is my
yes.
book. That is my favorite book, and it gives me strength and power. It's like, okay, what instructions do I need? Like, I might even just do a cold read, like, open it, and what chapter do I land on? But just the reinforcement of faith, of knowing that I am not alone, of the knowing that I've been called to do and be great things in the world, of the knowing that there's no separation between God and I, has supported my faith walk beyond measures.
Mm,
And it has supported me with releasing the judgment I once had about myself. If I find myself talking bad about myself, I'll be like, ooh, you better quit doing God's beautiful creation like that. So
mm.
it supports me. My faith is so strong. And it definitely was not. But it's so serving in this world. Like, without faith, there's
Yeah,
no vision, right? There's
that's
nothing.
right. That's
Um,
right. And
literally looking on the paper, talking and quoting a scripture about that. Like, so my faith has, again, it's just supported me knowing that I have something to keep me grounded, keep me rooted, and keeping me going without looking for external validation to give me the yes.
I love that. And the aha moments that you have often. And I love that. And so it just goes full circle that Proverbs. I can see that in you, hearing you
Yeah.
speak now multiple times, that you truly are walking and living Proverbs. People don't understand it. It's not that we're here to teach religion. We're not that. It's definitely a spiritual walk. But for those that don't know, it talks about wisdom and defining your practical expertise in the way that life pleasing God, right? In your light, in your walk, not in
Yeah.
somebody else's, because you're accountable for you and you determine if you're going to be in that pearly gates one day or whatever gate you you get to.
Yeah.
So, being able to, you're teaching wisdom, Shanelle, and you're given the practical knowledge and the tools. So I've seen that, and you're emphasizing the importance of it all. So I first want to say thank you for you truly leading and walking in that path of Proverbs.
Thank you. And thank you for just sending that energy to me. It feels so good. And I'm going to say one thing. I didn't even know Proverbs was going to be my book, my go-to. However, back when I was younger, I wanted a tattoo. And so I got a cross on my back with Proverbs, what is it, 31:11? I haven't looked at it in a long time, but basically, how I'm to show up in the world as a
Oh,
wife
yes.
that is tatted on my back. And I didn't
Wow.
know, like, this was starting it. Like, you gonna need this book. This is your book of life. Like the book of Eli.
Oh, yes.
Proverbs is my book of life.
Oh my gracious, I love that. So speaking of healing, because pun intended, because you're in the process of healing right now from your trip and from your surgery, and thank God that He has, protected you and carried you out of that, and He's working on your healing. Let's pivot to the track of healing, growth, and purpose. You talked about healing and generational wounds. And what does that process look like, and what steps can women take to begin their own healing?
Yeah. So, healing generational wounds. Number one, the most important thing is to sit back and look what shows up in your
Mm,
family,
hmm,
right? What shows up in your family? So I'll speak on me. One of the things I noticed and that I said I was never going to experience because I thought it was bad was my mom raising me alone,
sure.
right? So I was, and my grandma, she was married, but she was divorced. All my aunts had been married, but they were divorced. My uncles were married. So that, and we, the women were strong, right? Like look, I heard the wind from
Listen, so everybody don't understand what we're going over here. So we can listen over here in Georgia, guys, for all of the listeners. We know a lot of you are international. However, here in the great peace state of Georgia, we are currently having a thunderstorm. So that speaks volumes that Shanelle and I are still showing up and doing all the things, and we're praying that this power stays on. But the thunderstorm is thunder. Listen, somebody must be cutting up somewhere around the universe because God is moving. Okay.
And then the wind was like, shoo. I'm like, oh, I turned my whole back towards the window. So yes. Ooh, moving
It's
and
going
shaking.
balloon, balloon, balloon. Okay. See,
Yep. The lightning and everything is
listening, we'll take it. Whatever, listen, whatever work he has to do, let's keep it forward, right?
yeah, because water is about, it's cleansing.
Yes.
So I love it when it's not thunder or lightning or tornadoes with it.
Listen, I love the thunder and lightning, but they can have the tornadoes, but I love a good thunder and a good lightning because somewhere something is not being destroyed, but it's being reaffirmed and restructured. So I'm gonna take it.
I love that perception. Oh, I don't know what that is, honey, but I love that perception. That wind sounds strong. Hey, I'm present, Shanelle. Be
We
present.
are both listen. We're both present. It's okay to take a detour. We'll get back on the track. It is nothing wrong with a good detour as long as we don't fall off the cliff. We
Yes,
stay on. We're still on the track because the track is necessary because we are talking about healing and purpose, and we're also going to be talking about reflections and all the other things. So listen, this is all great.
yes.
There it is. So,
Yeah.
so the pull is back in to what we were talking about. We were talking about being able to how you heal on your own.
Yes. Can you tell me the entire
Yeah,
question?
absolutely. No, absolutely. So, what does that process look like for you? And when you're healing in generational wounds,
Oh, yes,
and
yes,
how other women can begin their own healing because it is a challenge. Let's keep it real. It's a challenge, and no matter it's not even an age limit put on it. Some people don't learn to their in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? On how to begin to heal. Some people don't even know what their purpose in life is. So the ask basically is, what steps can women take to begin their
yeah.
own healing with these generational wounds?
Yeah. Ask God to show you you.
Mm, good stuff.
I said, why did I ask that question? But I'm telling you, when that happened, everything started giving me insight, was presented to me. So, healing, if you are not aware, if you think your way of being is normal, then there's nothing that you feel you need to heal, right?
Right?
Women have to be vulnerable and ask God to show God, show me, show me who I am,
Mm.
show me what it is that I need to see about me, and show me what needs to be cleaned up about me and sit with it with no expectations. Because when you start to heal, it's the hardest thing in life.
Oof.
So I
Realist.
don't want to paint it out to be all, peachy cream and strawberries and fairies. No.
Sunshine and rainbows.
Yes. It's gonna be like these thunderstorms out here.
That's right.
It's like I said, to me, it was one of the hardest, no, not one. It was the hardest part of this healing journey is to heal and to ask for me to see what it is that I needed to see about me. And so again, when you sit and you pay attention to your lineage and if you just pay attention to the women and the hurt that they experience that is now a part of their DNA, you can see what it is that you've been called to do in this part of your life, what part of generational experiences you've been called to cure, to change, to shift. And so if if women just sit and be like, okay, let me look at my mom without judging, right?
Mm, right.
And let me, if the grandma's still present, let me look at my grandma. Let me look at her ways. Let me look at how she shows up in the world. Let me talk to my mom and my grandma. Let me ask them what it is that they experienced in life. What was hard for them? Let me ask them about their moms and, so we can understand what has been passed down to us. It will give us a level of understanding of, okay, I'm on this journey. I've experienced this in life because I need to not only heal for myself, but those who came before me. And I solely believe that because when I learned that, I was already in my mom before my mom was in her. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
absolutely.
we have all of our eggs already. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're carrying so much. We're carrying so much the past from our, you know, the women in our lineage and in our DNA and our, a whole family. We're just carrying so much.
Sure.
So, in order to heal, you have to accept who you are. You have to see who you are. You have to love who you are. Everything that might not even be desirable, you have to say, okay, that's who I've been called to be. Okay, I've been called into this world. Okay, this is the mom that I asked to be my mom. So, what is it that I need to know and learn? And then give yourself permission to say, I'm ready and surrender.
Right. And we know that oftentimes that's, we'll say what easier said than done, but if it was easy, everybody will be doing it. So, what daily practices or tools do you specifically use to stay connected to your higher self and divine energy?
Yeah. Honey, listen. So at first I used to have like a checklist because remember I told you I can check.
Yes, you love checks and boxes. Okay.
However, I realized that was me doing. And so then I was like, okay, God, how do you want me to be?
Mm,
So what I might do changes daily. But what is consistent is prayer and asking God to show me what it is that you have for me to do and be today. And then journaling. I love to journal. Journaling is so supportive for me
mm,
because it allows me to receive and release. And then I also have some processes where I'll go in my prayer room because I have this huge, beautiful prayer room that I've created for me. And it is the peaches and rainbows and everything. That's the space that I've created for me. And I'll go in there and I'll pray, like, what is it that I need today? Show me what it is that I need because you know what's coming.
absolutely.
So honor me, God. And I'll be asking God, like, God, you know what I need today? Please help me. Because I need to stay grounded and protected. And so just asking for clarity. So what is it that you need me to do today? Because I need to know. Who is it that you've been called me to be? And
Mm,
so again, for me, it looks like I wake up in the morning, I do a spiritual practice to where I bless my head so that my head will be, I'll keep my head on.
mhm.
And then I will write whatever it is that comes to me. And then I have a prayer box. So I pray over that prayer box every morning. And if something new needs to go in there, like if I hear people talking about things, I'll add those prayers, the requests in there. But I pray over that box every morning. And it's an intimate process for me. So, making sure that I stay aligned with who I am and my divine feminine energy means making sure I stay in oneness with God, but it can look different for everybody. I literally like I have to take my shoes off when I go into my prayer closet. I'm wearing white when I go into my prayer closet. And I'm going in completely vulnerable, sitting in a way
Sure.
that honors and
Mm,
asks God to flow right to me through me as you, so that I know what it is that I need to do and who I've been called to be.
absolutely. I love that. And that's purity, right? So I definitely love that. So let's pivot on the track to business and leadership. because you wear many hats. You know, you are a wife, you are a mother, you are a spiritual life coach, author, leader, mentor, you name it, as they say. How do you specifically stay grounded? Well, you just shared one main one, which is your prayer room, but
Yeah.
managing all these roles, how in other ways do you stay grounded? First, you know, you stated already that you started with prayer, and what other ways do you keep yourself grounded?
So, how I keep myself grounded is living through my vision.
Mm,
So, my vision, which is I, Shanelle Boyd, am committed to co creating a liberated world where I am balanced in self love as I am secure in my divine feminine energy by holding the power of my voice as sacred, by being introspective, self nurturing, and authentic. Those last three words, introspective, self nurturing, and authentic, are my ways of being. If what I've been called to do, or if what gives me a nudge, or if it's like, hey, can you do this for us? Can you do this with us? If it does not align with my ways of being, I say no.
absolutely.
I say no. So the things and the experiences and the opportunities that I have to be in this world, for first and foremost, being a mate, just a blessed daughter of God. Like, thank you so much. And being a wife and a mother, I'm clear that those roles been given to me. They are a gift. They are a gift. And so that is my priority. That is who I honor because, again, I'm breaking generational, you know, patterns from the past. And then when it comes to all the other amazing opportunities that I've been given that God has told me yes to, um, of course I plan, right? Because again, I'm a check
Check some
person.
boxes, my favorite thing to do
Yeah.
as well. I
Uh,
relate.
but I also ask, like, what is it that you will have me do today? I ask everything, like everything I ask and I set intentions for. So that gives me permission to, okay, Chanel, on this day, this is what you are committing to. Or somebody will come because I'll pray, like, God, what is it that I need? And then the answer will come through somebody, through a TV show, through insight. And it's like, okay, work on this today. Go, do some networking today for women to woman. Check in with this, check in with that. So everything that I do is guided by God. Like I can't even, I don't know. It, like when you say it, I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so much. But I'm like, God, show me and give me my yes and tell me what it is that you need from me today so it flows and it seems easy. Um, so how I do it is it's the breath of the prayer, the prayer work.
One day at a time.
Yeah, yes. And then
I
I also
love
have a
that.
team. So I do have VAs that support me
Sure.
so that they, when it comes to my work side, they are doing a lot of that work for me. And then, I'm showing up as the person, like when I need to be present in front of people, but they're doing the operation side of everything. So
Absolutely.
that also supports as well.
So shout out to your village because it does take
Yes.
one. So
Oh my
round of
goodness.
applause.
Yes, I would not listen. I tell them all the time, like, yes, I'm so thankful for them.
Absolutely. So you've already shared quite a bit on what inspired you to create your brand. What is the mission behind your work?
What is the mission behind my work, Chanel? That's a good question. Because when I close my eyes and I see the world, again, I see a world that's liberated. I see a world where people are confident and they step into their calling using their voice, knowing that whatever it is they've been called to be or whatever the prayers they're sending up, their yes is warranted. So, mm, my mission, I don't, just to create a space and place for people to feel confident, to feel authentic, and to live out their calling of life while learning about themselves and connecting with others.
I love that. And you know, fear is huge. And so many people no matter what age that they are in, or financial bracket or educational bracket or just life in general, have so many fears. And
Mhm.
so, and they're afraid to step into their power. What advice do you have for women who feel called to do transformational work, but there's that fear?
Yeah. So inner child work is so important. So important. I would say start with the little you
Mm,
because she is who needs the nurturing. Because I was the same way. Like, I was definitely not comfortable talking to people, asking people for things, stating what I need, using my voice. And, when I did the work, I realized it was because, as a Jehovah's Witness, people would talk about me. People would laugh at me and make fun of me in class because they seen me knocking on their door. So as a little girl, I told myself I was going to be silent, right? And
mm.
I didn't want to bring any attention to myself. So this process, this journey of life, I'm telling you,
Present for the week, huh?
listen. Yes, but doing your inner child work is so rewarding because then not only are you honoring your adult self, you're going back and connecting with the little girl who shows up in your now and who feels like she needs to protect you. You're letting her know that it's okay. Because anytime we're not okay, it's our little girl showing up. Anytime anything is present, anytime we feel uncertain, fear, shame, anger, it's our little girl. And when
Mm,
you get that training or you get that support and you learn how to nurture her, there's nothing off limits for you. Nothing. Because again, I, me talking to people, networking, what? You want me to do what? No, that this was not me. However, me and my little girl, I call her Tink Tink. Because, honey, if she shows up, she's showing out in the past. I now know how to calm her and be present, but that's what I call my little girl. So I'd be like, it's okay, Tink Tink. But she used to run me. So even though I was an adult, I was being driven and led by my younger self who believed that I had disappointed me, who believed, okay, this happened, a lot of it, there's a lot of relationships, especially between moms and daughters, that need to be healed. And
sure.
that little girl is who is present and running the show. When you do that work, you are unstoppable.
I love that. So before we go into our closing reflections, let's talk about your vision for the future of your work and how do you hope to impact the world through it? And you're already doing the work, but what does it look like later on in the future for Shanelle?
Yeah. So, like I said, my vision, my life's vision is also in alignment with my business's vision because I just changed the word where I say I and I say women, right?
Mm, sure.
It's it's no longer I, it's women. So they are in alignment. That's why when I tell you,
Mm.
everything is divine. But going forward, it's my desire for women too. Can I repeat my vision?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I, Shanelle Boyd, am excuse me, committed to co-creating a liberated world where women are balanced in self-love as they are secure in their divine feminine energy while holding the power of their voice as sacred by being introspective, self-nurturing, and authentic. That is my heart's desire to create a space and give women the autonomy to know that you are liberated. You do not have to be connected to what once was, what you believed about yourself, and that will release so many chains. the things that are holding you back from doing and being who you've been called to be. So women, when they step into the self space of being introspective, like, okay, let me go inward. Let me not always look outward to judge, to shame, but let me go inward. Let me see what's present. Let me nurture what's within me. And then let me be self nurturing. Let me nurture all of me. Let me honor all of me. Let me love on all of me. And then let me be authentic. Be you. Be you because everybody needs a you. Everybody doesn't need the same person. When women will be able to accept, honor that, and stand in that truth, mm, mm,
Mm, mm, mm.
that's my heart's desire. That is my vision for everything that I do, everything that I be in this world, so that women can use their voice.
I love that. And hindsighters, did you catch those nuggets? Shanelle reaffirmed herself more than once, and her life visions aligns with her business visions, which brings forth together in one. So, listen, I hope you caught those nuggets and that you're writing this down, you're taking notes, you're listening, and you're plugging them in so you too can be your true self, as Shanelle has stated. And that's a tool and nugget that she has shared for you for free. Okay, free 99 tonight. But we're going to look at you bring it on to you getting some coaching, not free 99, but some blessing of coaching paid, because life, everything in life is not free, right? So we're going to support her and she's going to tell you later on how to do that. But before we do so, let's go into some positive reflections, and we're going to talk about little tink tink. Okay, we're going to talk about her younger self, and if she was to go back and give one piece of advice to her younger self, what would it be? So, Shanelle, that question is for you, of course. Tell us about little Tink Tink's younger self and the advice you would give your younger self.
Yeah. So back in the day, little Tink Tink, she went through her stages to where she was quiet. And then because of her quietness that invited bullies in, she then became a bully.
Mm,
So I would definitely, and what I do now is remind her that she is enough. You are, I tell her all the time, like, baby girl, you are enough. Show up in this world as yourself. You do not have to fit in. And that's what I would, having, and I do have this conversation. So it's not like if you could go back, I'm telling you, I'll be having the whole conversations with my little self, like, girl. Um, but just reminding her that this is your journey. You are enough. Stand in your power and be authentically you. Because just authenticity, it just carries you in so many places. So when you're
mm,
confident enough to be you, to use your voice, it carries you miles and miles, and you don't care, respectfully. You don't care. And I would not have cared what others thought about me. I definitely don't now. However,
mm.
back in the day, I cared, right? I cared that they didn't like what I looked like. So her being authentic back then, she wouldn't have needed anyone else's approval. So that's, all of that is what I tell her now and what I would have shared back then.
I love that. So, how can listeners begin their own journey of restoring their divine feminine energy today?
Today. So outside of calling me,
Yeah.
okay.
Or, well, it doesn't have to be outside. Definitely we want them to call you.
I just wanted to know
You
which
can
way.
share any other look, go any way Shanelle feels you need to go with that. But definitely we want them to call you. But if
Yeah.
there's other parts and
Yeah.
other nuggets that you can give them and you feel like that may help them in addition to other resources,
Yeah.
feel free to share. But the most important thing is for them to call Shanelle Boyd.
I didn't know what part we were on.
Whatever
Okay.
part you want, you roll how you want to roll.
So my invite is to get you a mirror, a tall mirror that you love, one that you just want to look at all the time, one that you can decorate with whatever makes you you, whatever makes you happy, with no judgment. So if you want to put flowers on it, if you want to put cotton candy on it, get you a mirror and stand in that mirror and start telling yourself who you are. That opens the door. And again, asking God to show you you. I would do that in a different space, in your prayer space.
Ooh,
But in the mirror, stand in that mirror and just say, thank you for creating me to be this divine feminine energy of life. I am light. I am a light worker. And just continue to affirm and honor yourself because in that process, things will come up. If you sit with yourself, you'll be able to feel the resistance in the words that you're speaking. And that will give you a blueprint as to, okay, this is what I need to start working on.
I love you and thank you for that awesome share. So, what final words of wisdom would you like to leave with the audience or impart on the audience?
Yes, yes. Do your work. Do your work. Don't wait on anybody else to tell you what your work needs to look like. Do your work because you are living your life not only for you, but for everyone connected to you, everyone that you talk to in your day-to-day activities, whether it be at work, your business, your school, your prayer closet. Do your work and say yes and just be open.
I love that. So, where can people connect with you and learn more about your amazing work?
Yeah. So, people, as you mentioned, can go online to women, WOMEN, the number two, and then woman, WOMAN.org. And that website is for my nonprofit organization. And so we're always looking for mentors and mentees on that site about the founder is where you can find the connecting links that will support you with going to, my coaching page. So my I am Adisa or the coaching pot, because we also have a directory for coaches who want to list their business. So you can go to that page and get that information. And then also it's the same on Instagram and Facebook, which is Women to Woman. And from those pages, there are links to, the other services that I offer. And then you can also connect with me via email, which is Shanelle, so SHANELLE at women, so WOMEN two, so the number two, and then woman, WOMAN.org.
Absolutely. So, thank you, Shanelle Boyd, founder of Women to Women. I am Adisa and the Coaching Pot. We at Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM, where there's always something good to talk about, are super excited to have you this evening. And thank you so much for your time and energy. We say best of success to you in your continued journey to greatness. And we hope to have you on again to learn more about you and for you to impart more greatness on the listeners of the Hindsight family.
Thank you. It's been such an honor. I appreciate you and thank you for changing the world.
Absolutely. Well, make your day great and we will be in touch soon.
Bye.
Good night.